Welcome everybody to League Zero, season number 4. I am Jerry Razor, joined here by Megalas, and we'll be bringing you a game in the Advanced Division in between Powerhouse and Axolotl Syndicate.
Yes, indeed. Both these teams currently get to hold that undefeated title. Granted, it's only one match they've played each, but, it's still nice to be able to say that early on into the season. But, both these teams looking pretty strong. And, maybe you might favor Powerhouse because you could argue Axolotl had a weaker opponent, but regardless, both these teams are in this division for a reason, and I'm expecting them to put up a really good fight.
Yeah, both rosters are quite stacked, of course. And speaking of stacked, well, I don't really know how to transition. I was trying to think of a cool transition, but we'll be heading over to Control as our first map type, like always. Gonna be Nepal. Interesting map. Has kind of a lot of cool different points. You can play a couple of different compositions on those points, and so I'm very excited to see what each team feels like they can pull out here.
Yes, indeed. We actually haven't seen either of these teams on Nepal yet. Axolotl was on, I believe, or not Oasis, I was going to say, Ilios. And then Powerhouse we've seen on Lijiang, which Lijiang Tower has kind of like become the bread and butter for teams when it comes to CoF. Like everybody loves it, almost like a King's Row-esque map. So, it's nice to see other maps get roped into the pool here, especially stuff like Nepal, because the points are a little bit different. You can see a little bit of Sim, a little bit of May. It all depends on what these teams have prepped and ready for us.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nepal. One of my personal favorite maps. But Lijiang does never bore. So yeah, this is of course it's loser's pick. So after this map, whichever team loses will get to pick the following map. So it's can create for some interesting situations as the game saw entering. There we go. Overwatch is just taking a while. But now we are finally getting in here to this match. So we're going to start here, and I believe this is Sanctuary.
Think so. Elephant statue is the way I like to remember it. Shrine, Sanctuary, something to that effect. And this is the point where you might see like the Sim rollout, but this is a point that can lend itself to the Pharaoh, which is the crazy amount of verticality you see. But you do also see quite a bit of Reinhardt. This one is... Oh, there we go. Nice to know. But yeah, so like Symmetra rollouts where you get your Reinhardt in super quick. And of course, when you're running that Reinhardt, you always want like a Diva to kind of care for him, and then a Baptiste to give him that immortality field, as we're seeing on both sides. Pretty much the stone cold mirror as they're ready to jump out the gate here.
Yeah, both teams are quite ready to hop in here. Like you said, Symmetra from both sides. Complete mirror comps, actually. You're going to be battling right over kind of the center pillar. Good Maywell to start off to cut off speed. They're going to try to collapse on him. And they're doing a decent job, but as soon as they say that, counter aggression does come through for Powerhouse, managing to get the opening pick in this fight. And they're going to follow up onto Toasting Spork as well. So really nice start to this map for Powerhouse.
Yes, indeed. It's really kind of weird because normally you want to be the aggressor in this comp, but it was all about that point control, right? And it was just a step too far that Axolotl took, so they were able to be punished by those May walls just a little bit harder. And as we're already seeing, Jason on the Baptiste has the window available, which is going to be instrumental in just starting to snowball this point percentage up in the favor of Powerhouse.
Yeah, they're going to start by going up to the top. High ground, but Zayla, they managed to get a nice right click over onto Sparrow and take them down, and so this just kind of forces a soft reset.
Yes, indeed, just a little bit of a soft reset. It's smart to not engage there simply because otherwise you're just going to feed over more ults that you already know the enemy has. You're working towards your own wall with Glacial, and again, you're taking this high ground rotation, nobody getting picked this time. The question is, what are you going to do with all the space you're making?
That's a great question. They're going to start with the Symmetra wall. And they'll try to engage onto Jaybird, but the Immortality Field is there! Oh, what a shatter coming out from Jaybird. Just laying down the hammer. And the Blizzard placement is not where it needs to be from Boreal if they wanted to try to turn this fight. And speaking of Blizzard, Spiro kind of a wasted Blizzard as well, so neither team really getting a good Blizzard in this fight.
Yes, indeed, and also it was just very impactful that Axolotl was able to just kind of sustain without their sim wall. They got their sim wall out much later, but that later wall proved invaluable as now we're seeing this fight break out in the high ground.
I mean, yeah, that's a great Maywall from Spiro. And the Shatter doesn't hit anything either. So this is a very good start to the fight for the side of Powerhouse. Axolotl, excuse me. Well, the Sound Barriers committed from both sides. And Axolotl, due to the fact that they have this player advantage from the very start, they're able to use that momentum to roll into another fight win.
Yes, indeed, because you do want to start taking up that percentage. And the fact that you did it with so few ultimates, right? You just kind of committed the beat drop there as we're seeing the fight already go on point because of these teleports.
Yeah, Diva Bomb now turned to the back and attempted to bomb Shatter Trust. Nobody's really in the way to make that a case. A bit of a misspin there coming out from Jaybird. Ant Matrix on the field. The symbol is on the best of spots. And it makes it so all of Axolotl is still susceptible to the amplified damage coming through that window. So this is just going to be Powerhouse continuing to hold, well, not continuing, but now flipping back over the point into their control.
Yes, indeed, and they did invest a few too many ultimates, in my opinion. They invested the Shatter and Wall, kind of all for naught, but it's not the end of the world. You're going to have your Blizzard, your window, but the question is going to be the Wall on the other side, the Symmetra Wall for Azalea, and as well as this Diva Bomb, I feel like could be huge in terms of timing the Mail, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a early Ant Matrix from the side of Axolotl. Doesn't really get too much. A bit of a fake TP, it looks there. It gets broken. Anyway, the Shatter in the back is quite good. And the Blizzard on top of that, Jaybird drops very early on. And so now it's the situation where Powerhouse are looking good to be able to run through this fight, clean everybody up, and now it's just going to be a desperation time. And I don't think anybody will even get close to touching, so it's going to be Powerhouse taking Shrine 100-65.
I mean, that was just sheer unrelenting aggression, kind of from both teams, really. And that's the thing that the sim allows you to do really, really well. It's because you're just able to keep that tempo so high, fights are happening so quickly, and it seems like Axolotl, they weren't, like, they had plans for what they wanted to do in fights, but they just didn't have time to fully vocalize it or fully set it up, because by the time they thought it up, it was just Powerhouse was in their face, ready to go, and that's the kind of aggression you need on these KOTH maps. And
yeah, for sure. We are now moving over on to Sanctum for our next point, and it's going to be slightly different comps. You're going to see more of a poke roll coming out from Axolotl. With the Junkrat as well, interesting selection. This comp wants to play a bit more passive and wait for the DPS to find openings. It can be quite hard, though, to play as against the traditional brawl. I mean, that's not normally how you see these fights go. Normally you see them kind of run at them like they're doing now and take all the space they're given and then use that momentum to roll through these fights. They're great start from Powerhouse.
Yes, indeed, and pretty much the kill it, because the Junkrat is the one who got picked in that fight, that was able to be the go button, because that's the fear for this brawl comp that Powerhouse is running, is the Junkrat. There's so much spam that comes out from that, you can't really run into that all too effectively. But just a huge pick, and already we're going to see probably another early window coming out from Jason on the Baptiste, and it's going to be pretty massive, I say, just because there's nothing to really stop it besides natural cover.
Yeah, that's a very interesting TP for Powerhouse. But that leaves their team kind of split in this comp. When you get split up like that, it can be devastating there. So now you have a two-player advantage for Axolotl, and they're going to try to push that, and they do so by taking out Boreal, and there's no real ultimates for the side of Powerhouse to be able to turn this. So it's going to be Axolotl getting a decent fight there to flip it back.
Yes, and that's another thing about this Powerhouse comp, the standard rush, as most people know it as, is normally any one person going down, the fight is still winnable in that 5v6 state, unless it is the Baptiste that you saw fall first. Because while Lucio can heal a little bit more than the average healer would think, it's just not enough healing to sustain. Going to this next one, I mean, Spiro already down to the Diva, interesting.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice start there. from X Runner. The Shatter from Speed doesn't get quite what he wants, but it doesn't matter because Jaybird is not in the situation he needs to be. Oh, the boop off the side. Nearly found 3 players, but luckily for Powerhouse, only found 1. But then actually another boop comes through, so 2 kills. Doesn't really matter in the long run, just builds up some multi-charge.
Yes, indeed. And it's always about those, little bit of pride kills with the boop. But yeah, Spiro kind of threw that fight almost simply by playing so far out of position. There was no peel really to be had, and X Runner on the D.Va just ran them over. And we're seeing a super early window because they're trying to take point by Axolotl.
Very early engagement. Now there's a tire coming through. Sound barriers for both sides, but this explosive for Powerhouse is proving deadly there. Tire gets shot out of the sky, and the Flux is just not quite what they need. And X Runner, once again, coming up with the big double kill here. Now, one fight territory as Powerhouse are nearing a situation where they could take this opening map.
Yes, indeed. But, you do kind of have to... You're going to have to make some magic happen, right? All you have online is the Earth Shatter for Jaybird. There's going to be a Shatter on the other side for Speed, as well as the D.Va Bomb that you're going to have to kite. But otherwise, no ultimates for either side. So, maybe get a little bit of magic, time the Shatter right, block Speed, and shut it down yourself.
The Shatter's okay, it does it too. But the counter Shatter, oh, quite deadly there from Speed. Best time, the 2 players that hits, well, those ones result in kills. Then the remake onto the Sigma. I toasty toast. Oh, he is toast. That's Powerhouse taking the opening map in what is pretty dominant fashion, all things considered.
Yes, indeed. That first round looked a little bit closer. That mirror truly looking good, but I mean that second round, the variant comp that Axolotl was trying to run just was no match for Powerhouse, and it's going to give him the 1-0 edge, and sometimes that 1-0 is definitely where you need to start, as we're just seeing some lovely boop kills.
Yeah, it could be a start here for Powerhouse, but Axolotl will need to try to come up with something to manage to push back into this. But yeah, that Brawl Mirror looked a bit better for Axolotl, but when they switched over to the Poke Brawl, Powerhouse really knew what they wanted to do against it, and they had a great game plan to be able to shut it down.
Well, yes, I mean, full credit to Powerhouse for being able to shut down that composition, but at the same time, I feel like it was kind of Axolotl Syndicate's, not necessarily fault, but just when your Junkrat was playing so out of position, right? You're so far ahead, there's nothing to really peel for it. And the Junkrat's the one thing that Powerhouse's comp fears. It's the reason that they didn't hold the W key and just int into them right away, is because that Junkrat damage is too lethal to just ignore. And so if all Spiro really had to do is stay alive, but unfortunately getting picked early was not the best thing in the world. But, it happens. It's just one map. Speaking of maps, we are actually going to Eichenwald as our second map, and probably going to see more of the Reinhardt between both these teams. Both teams look super comfortable on it. Nobody's really deviating. The question is, will we see more kind of variants coming out? We didn't see any variants for the side of Powerhouse. Whereas Axolotl, they've shown they like to run the Hanzo, the Junkrat already, and I'm just really interested in what they're going to do.
I am also kind of interested to see if Axolotl will, or even Powerhouse, opt to run something a bit different. Axolotl, of course, is their map selection, and if you wanted to take the Brawl Mirror, you most likely would have just gone to King's Row. You can also play kind of the Hanzo comp that they wanted to run earlier as well, so I am honestly interested to see if Axolotl have maybe like a pocket pick for this map. Maybe you run some of the ball. You could even run some of the Winston comps on this map as well. So I'm honestly kind of interested to see if Axolotl have anything special, because they did choose this over King's Row, and King's Row is really the hard brawl.
Well, I think maybe the difference is simply the Symmetra pick, right? We're seeing it more and more in these kind of brawl comps where you're replacing your McCree for a Symmetra simply because of the usage of the teleporter, as well as the damage that she can do to a Rhine shield, and the pressure she can output is just so massive. And we didn't really see Axolotl wanting to opt into that sim too hard. So, Eichenwald, it's a map that's a lot harder to get value out of Symmetra on versus something like King's Row. So maybe that's the thought process, or maybe it's just a pocket strat pick. There's been crazy pocket picks on this before. You've run things like the like Torbjorn McCree I've seen run here before, as we're just taking.
A
I
pause.
thought we were getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to
Quick little pause.
get the spectator situation all sorted so we can make sure everything is good. You can start to see the teams roll out, however, and it's gonna be the hard brawl for the defensive side of Axolotl. So honestly, kind of interesting that they are picked into this map and then opting to run the Kree. But like you said, this map is a bit more friendly to the Kree. While King's Row you see a little bit more Symmetra being played over there.
Yeah, indeed, and that could just kind of be the difference, right? Is that maybe you don't have someone who's too comfy on Symmetra, maybe you're not too comfortable using the teleporter effectively. I mean, whatever the reason is, it's better to kind of opt out of it if you have the chance. Also, with a map like King's Row, every single person kind of is super comfortable on King's Row, right? Like, it's the bread and butter. Most teams refer to it as Scrim's Row, simply because of the amount of comfort and chill that comes with King's Row. The set plays and things like that. It's in the back of your head. So, just kind of switch it up on people. Go something like an Eichenwald, throw like, I don't know what other hybrid maps are in, maybe like a Numbani into
Hollywood.
the pool. Hollywood. I mean,
it's Hollywood, Hollywood, King's Row, and Eichenwald are the three.
Yeah, but just it's always nice to see this little variation because, like I said, a lot of teams will always just default pick King's Row, so you could catch somebody seriously off guard because what if they've just scrimmed King's Row all week, assuming everyone will pick it?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I don't know if this attacking comp. I doubt this is the attacking comp we're actually going to see. I wouldn't be opposed to the Pharah though. I think the Pharah is a real pick. Okay, never mind. He's going to swap.
Yep, just a little bit of self-damage in the spawn. But, I mean, yeah, the Pharah is something you can actually play here quite effectively because of the clock tower, interestingly enough, right near the point. It's just so nice for Pharah because she can hide LOS, but she's still close enough to make sure she's dealing damage consistently. And it's kind of one of the nuances. As we're seeing the doors open, and F-Turner switches last second, I was about to say the Roadhog would be interesting, but alas, we are on just the mirror standard rush for both teams.
And McCree variation, so no Symmetra in play. Rotation around the left side here for Powerhouse. And swinging on the Rhine there, good payloads for both sides, but Immortality is there to keep speed up, but gets frozen up and Spiro's freeze is enough to take him down. There's a freeze onto speed, and both tanks for Powerhouse are quite low, but it does not matter. So Axolotl with a good opening fight.
Yes, indeed, that fight just kind of breaks down exactly as you expect it to. You see the wall come out from the attackers to try to kite left. The defense from Axolotl just knew to meet them there immediately. Just lovely, lovely plays. And now you have that huge ult advantage in the favor of Axolotls. And the question is, are they going to be able to cycle their ults properly? You don't want to invest too much in a fight because that's how you ruin your snowball chance here on Eichenwald.
Yeah, we're going to see Matrix is coming up from both sides here to start off this engage. So those sides, of course, just going to kite it out. No reason for them to even really push in while those are up. Good Mayhold here to section off Jaybird here as they try to collapse on him. The freeze is really good. And then you have the Blizzard on top of that. But the High Noon and the Sound Barrier to try to keep your Reinhardt alive just isn't enough. The kills are still going their way. Spiro just somehow kills two in the backline, but I don't think it will matter in the end. Just the Baby Diva and Lucio stalling the point.
Yes, indeed, and that was just beautiful from Boreal on the Mei to kind of carve Jaybird off from the rest of the team and shut him down. And finally, the last defender will fall, and the point will unlock with 4.5 minutes in the time bank. I mean, that's very interesting, as well as we see no swaps from either team, both still sticking to this rush.
Yeah, both teams are committed to this rush comp. And I don't really blame them, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, you get the ultimates and stuff online, so you can kind of just stick with it for a few fights, even if you think something might be better.
Yeah, for sure. Ult economy is truly one of the largest parts of the Overwatch macro play, at least. They're going to try to march forward as they want Powerhouse to be forced to drop on. But Axolotl do not care. I mean, they want Powerhouse wants Axolotl to drop down, and as soon as they do, there's the shatter at the back. But Jaybird goes for a similar play, and this time he finds value, but there's just no follow-up on it, so he goes down. Mythology picking up a 2K there as they are absolutely going ham on this Lucio. Diva does not find anything, but I mean, you don't need to find anything when your supports come up with 4 kills.
Yes, indeed, and the fact that that fight, it continued to go on as we saw the final pick just coming out onto Glacial. The cart was just moving the whole time, so now you're going to have kind of a staggered last touch here on point B, and you're not going to have the full team. Oh, they're Maywalled off. They may just not even get a touch here.
Oh, they do! 100th of a meter left to go, and the boop off the edge for Mythology to start off this fight. Blizzard help close this out here, and that's more than enough to do the trick. Powerhouse capping up second point here with almost 440 here to work with coming into third.
Yes, indeed. And I would say, you got value, right? Because you forced the Blizzard from the side of Powerhouse. But the issue is you used Window in the same exact fight. So you traded an ult for an ult. The value wasn't really there. And now we're seeing all of the space be taken as the Deadeye starts for Axolotl.
But Grease actually flashed themselves on the side. And Azala, I guess they have the better fan to hammer tracking. Sound barriers from both sides as they try to sustain on through this. Jaybird is able to stay alive, and the Simwell does enough work to section everybody off that they want. Bork finding a couple frags here at the end as well, so Axolotl will manage to stabilize.
Yes, indeed, and it was a huge halt in momentum there, as well as Jaybird getting a massive block onto Speed Shatter. Going into this next fight, though, you gotta look for your win conditions, right? You can look to get the Shatter off, or you can just hide Spearow in the corner, as you're already seeing, possibly getting a Blizzard off. It's gonna be interesting to see if the Diva can eat.
I need to start. Oh, the Shatter hits 4. They're not actually able to find any follow-up with it. Amatrix from the side, coming out from Jason as the hacker tries to keep everybody up with the heals it needs. Sound barrier cuts sustain. But then there's a Blizzard thrown on, just straight onto the cart, and only freezes up 1, and they're not even able to finish off that Lucio. Diva Bomb now thrown out. Kurt actually wall rides into it, not many options for him available. Spork goes at the Immortality field, trying to keep himself and Jaybird alive, but I don't think it will matter. Blizzard was used to finish those 2 players off, and now the cart will start its grand march.
Such a chaotic back and forth fight, but you did force out a lot of ultimates. You forced the Bomb, the Blizzard, the Beat, and the Window, so you're not having to worry about too much. You're seeing Spearow go over to the Junkrat, and Spork's Window should be able to win them this fight single-handedly.
Window doesn't get a whole lot to start. Oh, what is that combo from Spearow? I was spectating his POV, and he throws a mine down rage and uses the conk mine right before the bomb hits. Really good timing there, but there's the Shatter that comes out from Speed. Absolutely massive, and then Kirk goes down mid sound barrier. So that ultimate removed from the fight could have been able to keep everybody up, but instead, it's looking good to be a finish of Eichenwald, and it will be so. 2:05 on the clock.
I mean, yeah, in 2:05, you started to get a good hold there for Axolotl on third point, but second point was just a steamroll. That cart did not stop moving at any point, besides when it physically had to, because the gate was opening near the very start of it. I mean, you're just kind of seeing this tempo be kept at an insanely high pace from the side of Powerhouse, hence in the name probably. And you either have to match that tempo, or you need to find a way to slow the game down to such a point where they're no longer effective. And that's not an adjustment that can really be made on the fly for Axolotl.
Yeah, for sure.
As we are just waiting to see these lineups, and it looks like both teams are still opting into this standard mirror rush. Of course, Axolotl Syndicate still in spawn, so they have an option to change. Meanwhile, the defenders, they're always kind of locked in because they have to get to the point as their spawn's a little bit further away. You know how it is. And I'm interested to see that you're going to keep this mirror, right? When you see things like the Spearow Junkrat, and maybe there's just more comfort picks, right? I feel like Jaybird's been looking great on the Rhine. Maybe give him a Zarya and try to force higher aggression that way. It really just kind of depends on what the teams practice, I guess. But hopefully these guys have a plan going forth, and they're not just locking the mirror to lock the mirror.
Yeah, let's see what they're able to pull off here. A bit of a closer hold coming up from Powerhouse. May of Boreal sitting right there, but they're gonna, I think they spotted it, so instead they're just gonna kind of wrap around through the mini, use the May wall to try to get by. A bit of an overextendment from Kurt, but he's able to make it out alive. Going to the point now is both sides. So just a 6v6 brawl on the point, and starts with Zayla getting the kill there onto Kurt, looking for a follow-up as the Immortality Field is used as a desperation move to try to keep everybody alive. But everybody has already dropped. That's going to be a nice fight win there from Powerhouse.
I mean, Powerhouse, they put themselves in such a great position, right? Because of the way they played that, where they moved themselves around to the left side, and they became the attackers again. They just let them go to point. They didn't give up the tick, and now they're going to have this window already online. They're going to be close to Shatter. As we're seeing Glacial go over to the Symmetra, like I was talking about before, maybe that Sim just gives you that extra pressure on the Rhine. Maybe you're thinking the Rhine's the problem here. As they TP.
Fire Strike gets sent through the Ant Matrix. Doesn't get anything. Oh no! What is that pig from Speed? I assume he missed his spot there. Now there's going to be a Blizzard thrown in. The Ant Matrix has been used from Spork, but it doesn't really matter because they're all frozen up, so they can't get the value they want out of it. So that's going to be a clean and crisp pull from Powerhouse. And, oh, they attempted to wall off the Baby Diva there so they could stagger it, but the Toasty Toast went over the wall.
Unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate that you used Window in that fight, right? Because when you're trying to get these fights in your favor, you don't, like, you'd rather lose that fight super quickly and just burn no ultimates. And now you're seeing them rotate again through this left side and teleport like the Deadeye.
Yeah, Deadeye from Azala doesn't get really much of anything. Now they look like they want to drop onto the point. Speed has to Shatter whenever he sees fit, and he drops the hammer. Hits multiple players there, and Kurt drops very early on. Diva Bomb now from Runner, thrown up, trying to change the tides of this fight, does not do so. Shatter in the back, though, from Jaybird is quite good, and they manage to find the kills. How are they turning this fight? Axolotl Syndicate finding some good frags, finding the value they need. It took them 2.5 minutes, but in the end, they will capture objective edge.
Yes, indeed, with a little bit of stall coming out here on the Diva, and the Reinhardt's actually back, so this fight might not be all too
maybe
over.
Hold this, they have 2 alive, including the Rhine.
No.
Yeah, now the Doomfist is back in the fight as well. Actually stuck on the May wall, but they're gonna have players alive. The Rhine's not able to stay alive. Okay, so it was looking dangerous for a second, but the Immortality Field from Spork was enough to sustain for long enough, so it was looking a bit dangerous, but that danger will not last.
Yes, indeed, and that was terrifying to see just for even those few brief seconds, thinking it was stallable in any way. And now you're seeing them switch back over to the rush, which means you're resetting your pre-ult charge and things like that. But that fight, it kind of started because Speed just went out of position, and once the Reinhardt dies, I mean, as we saw from Jaybird, just a free Shatter. And now we're seeing the Brawling Castle as the gate opens.
Yeah, as... Ooh, that's a really nice flashbang from Azala. Does enough damage, and then the pin! Oh my god, Speed. What a Chad. Pins into the back line. That goes for the Shatter. Hits a couple of players onto the ground, but goes down in the process. Now, there is a Shatter from Jaybird, but it's not quite as meaty as the previous one. Diva Bomb thrown in. Toasty is able to get Azala. Maywell cuts him off, and so now card control has to be given over to Axolotl.
But it's still not even guaranteed in their favor, as the Reinhardt is already back, and you're seeing both windows committed. It's still just this chaos fight that's ensuing.
Yeah, they managed to take down X-Runner, though, while he was attempting to get the remake, but the Blizzard from Boreal is in a perfect position at a perfect time. All of the defensive utility had already been expunged, so it creates an opportunity for Powerhouse are able to just run with it. Now 2 minutes left on the clock for Axolotl.
And I mean, that's just, it's the nature of these chaotic fights, right? You're kind of okay with taking these chaotic fights on the defense because your enemy really isn't the team at this point. You've already capped with 2 minutes. All you have to care about is that time bank and bleeding it as hard as possible. It kind of changes your win conditions when you attack first and get such a nice time bank. And we're seeing them do it beautifully here as we're seeing another fight as Axolotl is trying to take this high ground away from Powerhouse. I just don't think they can.
Yeah, it's gonna be a high noon from Azala. That's an interesting teleporter. Gets actually broken by the high noon, I believe. Now Axolotl. They want to engage, but I don't think they have really a great plan on how to do so.
Yes, indeed, and they're still just kind of poking
There
at
it
each
is.
other here. Oh, there's
Yeah.
the teleporter.
Yeah, there's the engage. It actually comes through from Powerhouse. And the engage, as soon as that Ant Matrix goes down, so they were just waiting and waiting and waiting. As soon as work threw down that Ant Matrix, they ran in past it to essentially nullifying any effect that Ant Matrix would have had. Now, 60 seconds left.
I mean, that's exactly how you have to play around the amplification matrix, the window. You just run past it, or you just hide from it in your own LOS. Going into what could be the final fight, if it drags out long enough, you have your own window that you're able to just kind of shoot from uncontested on the high ground. And all they really have to stop it is this glacial sim wall. And we're seeing another rotation up to high ground. I don't think you have time. I think you have to start fighting on the cart if you're Axolotl.
See, oh, the Fire Strike is quite good. An attempt at a Shatter. It gets blocked, however, from speed. Trying to push in, the pit comes through. Does not matter, he drops. And Axolotl finally got the engage they were looking for. Jaybird just dropped, but there's not any players alive to clean up the rest of the team. So it's going to be Axolotl Syndicate starting their march of the cart.
Yes, indeed, but we are in overtime. And this ult bank from both teams is pretty disgusting. You have, on the side of Axolotl, the Bomb, the Blizzard, and the Beat to help you sustain on cart. But then on the other side, Blizzard, mirrored fight ending ultimate, that's what that is. And the Deadeye on high, trying to look for a pick early.
That's walled off. Doesn't get anything due to the defense matrix. Azala drops Diva Bomber to the back. Doesn't get the value it wants. Speed is frozen up. The remake kill on the Boreal and so much damage on the speed as well. That remake from Toasty Toast is absolutely massive. Diva Bomb now thrown in from runners. They look like they want to try to clutch it up. Actually catches out Sparrow. Not able to remake, however. So now it's just supports for Powerhouse. Trying to stall out onto this cart.
Yes, indeed, but it looks like in the very end, there's going to be maybe one more fight here, but Axolotl looks surely favored. But the Sim TP actually is going to get everybody out of spawn quicker. This is a full 6v6 fight.
Oh yeah, but Jason was just out of position for just long enough to allow him to take down Borea. But Azala with the headshots, Sparrow trying to clutch up at the back lines, but he goes down. It's going to be Powerhouse taking a 2-0 lead here over Axolotl Syndicate.
I mean, that's such a smart play, right? Because normally you think to go Doomfist or Tracer or something to touch, but to go to the Symmetra to get your team TP'd out of spawn, you turned what would have been a 2 or maybe 3v6 fight into a guaranteed 6v6 fight. I mean, that's ridiculous. And now they're up 2-0, and this is the position you want to be in for Powerhouse. And on the other side of it, Axolotl Syndicate, they've got to kind of find some magic, string something together here. Otherwise, this series is going to go to a quick 3-0.
Yeah, for sure. And to break down all of the action with me and Mega Last, we bring in the wonderful novice coordinator and great caster, Intel. You were gonna say something.
I was going to say it's very great to do in here, but I don't really like to interrupt. Sometimes I wonder if we got something more to say or something less. Either way, yes, my name is username_Intel, and I am here so excited to do a bit of analyzing against Axolotl Syndicate versus Powerhouse. So far, it's been a pretty interesting game, and I think the one word to kind of separate these teams right now is more patience. I think Powerhouse, we could say, has been playing very aggressively. They understand their win conditions, but I think more or less these players are playing a lot more patient. They're at least and I guess normally when you say that, you often say like teams are waiting 5 minutes or something. They're waiting to take their turn. It's rather Powerhouse are waiting for good times to engage. Often we might see them Axolotl, they'll immediately use window, they'll pop, they'll get the first pick. We saw that on Iconvault. They got a first pick while Powerhouse were attacking onto the Mei with the Junkrat, and Powerhouse just take their turn, they wait, and then they invest the moment they get the opportunity to, and that's what giving them the advantage. Before we even started the stream and got everything set up, I already told you guys, Powerhouse quick 3-0. These guys just look so strong right now. I mean, they lose a map But everyone lose a map, and you guys looked at me crazy. You were like, "Oh, Axolotl, they won last week. They look good." Axolotl right now, their biggest weakness is that they are not fully engaging as a team. At times, they're not focusing the same target, and they're making simple mistakes, such as not positioning yourself correctly on the sim wall, and then you die to a diva bomb. I saw it, and that's going to be a big issue coming into map 3. They need to work together as a team, and they need to play against Powerhouse, because Powerhouse, they're just going to walk into you and they're going to say, "Hey, if you're going to walk into us, we'll back up for a bit, then we'll walk back into you. We're not going to let you play the way you want to play, because we're going to play patiently but aggressive."
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Like you said, just Powerhouse waiting to find their timings and then engaging in quite well. Axolotl seeming to be caught out in a lot of situations, so um, hopefully, if they can clean some of this up, I think they can make the series a bit closer, though.
I fully agree. There are at times Axolotl, they look like they have a good start. They're going somewhere and then immediately they just kind of stumble at times. Or they split up in a sense. For an example, back on Eichenwald, when they were attacking, the Symmetra leaves the battle kind of midway through on their first attack or somewhat like that. And then they're going into a 5v6, and eventually that kind of leads them into a slow brawl. They even almost lost the stall because they weren't focusing the same targets fast enough. So we saw Powerhouse slowly coming back into the fight. On Bridge, that point is so close. It's basically debatably even. It's harder for the attackers to come back, but it's easier for the defenders. That's how I put it. And that's going to be a big issue. They need to be cleaner.
Yes, indeed. They really just have to be kind of clean with what they want to do. But as I pointed out before, I mean, Powerhouse, they're just keeping the tempo so high. You don't really have time to plan. So even if you know what you want to do, you're not really getting the chance to have any sort of say in the matter, really. It's just kind of all about Powerhouse and punishing this aggression. And to punish it, you need stuff like maybe like a Briggs stun, bring in more of that McCree, and just make sure it's flashbang after flashbang after flashbang. It's just kind of creating the opportunity for yourself, right? You know what Powerhouse wants to do. You have to look for ways to shut it down because they're not going to voluntarily shut themselves down in any way, shape, or form.
I definitely agree. But your guys' map is pretty much ready, so I think with that bit of analyzing, I will just fade back into the darkness because either way, Powerhouse looked like they're going to be coming in strong, and just because I said so, I'm going to give you guys a little because so far I've yet to be proven wrong.
All right, well, thank you, Intel, for stopping by. Big thanks to him. And now we can get ready to hop into this game. A couple substitutes. We have Rictophobia coming in to play DPS here. Boreal coming out. Rectophobia is a very strong at the long range hit skid, so I am interested to see if we see him play maybe some Widow, maybe even some Ashe. Couple of different compositions I think you could expect from Powerhouse other than this traditional brawl.
I mean, yeah, and especially with knowing our next map is Rialto, you kind of see the opportunities for long range hits again, right? A pocketed Ashe has always done wonders on this map. You could even put something like a Widowmaker out. But as we say that, it turns out we've been debated apparently by this swap because Boreal is actually back in.
Wow.
Unfortunately, no long range hit scan procedures here.
Azayla can play some long range hit scan, so but Rectophobia is definitely kind of
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's kind of a
it's kind of on
specialist.
another level with it at times.
I mean, yeah, and sometimes that's the power you need, especially in a team like Powerhouse. But at the same time, I also understand maybe not wanting to swap, even if you think it's better, because you've already proven you can beat them in the Rush Mirror. You've already proven that Axolotl Syndicate doesn't really seem to be inclined to swap off this Rush Mirror. So it's kind of like, we're just going to keep doing whatever we want to do, and we're going to sit here until you can prove you can stop it. And like I said, this is maybe something that in a future match they could learn how to shut down, but I don't think this is something you can just quickly adjust mid-game. It's not just a little nudge or a little tip that you have to give. There's a whole lot that has to change. As we are just in scenic Rialto here, you always have the nice boats that you don't always get to see. Sometimes there's first
Great
point
map.
holds.
Like it's like a beautiful map. That's the word.
Bit of Overwatch lore. If anybody remembers when this map first came out, people would get play of the games for destroying the gondoliers that were on the boats. They would just destroy the little robots, and the game was like, "Yep, that's play of the game worthy."
You
And
can't destroy those robots anymore, can you?
you might still be able to break them, but I think they did fix the thing where it was play of the game. Because I do remember seeing
I don't
quite
think
a
I've
few.
ever seen anybody like kill their robots like recently.
Well, yeah, why go out of your way? They're minding their own business, chilling in the water, just boating back and forth. They are only boating in like a small semicircle, though, so maybe they should be at least docked their pay if they're getting pay. But,
Yeah,
it
on
is
the
what it
defense, we're going to see a traditional brawl comp. With the attack, we're going to see a double bubble with the Tracer Ash, so a bit of a different composition. And they're going to swap over to brawl as soon as they see this spawn hold coming through.
Yes, indeed. It's like, don't even mess with it. You don't have the time to set up your Ash. And now you're taking the high ground just to give yourself the advantage as they're taking the fight to cart.
They're going straight to cart with this. L'Oreal falling fairly low, but the very aggressive pin from Speed does the job. He has been playing such an aggressive Reinhardt this series, and it's been working out to perfection. Falling quite low, but does not matter, as Baptiste is right there behind him, pumping him full of heals, and everybody else is dropping like flies. It's a single McCree and Glacial in the back, and actually does manage to find one.
Yes, indeed, but those picks are for naught as they'll be out of spawn, and because of how far the defender's spawn is, it's not really going to matter before this final fight. And as you said, yeah, Speed on the Reinhardt has been next level aggressive, almost bumper-esque if people think of the Overwatch League or any high-level play like that. It's just kind of all in, and your team's giving you the resources to be that aggressive. As we're seeing a Deadeye start this one, though.
Early High Noon doesn't get the value it wants, but Spiro, what is that? Doomfist comes 2 kills in the backline, just gives Axolotl the player advantage out of nowhere. And the rest of the team's able to capitalize on that very quick fight from Axolotl.
Yes, indeed, and that Doomfist providing insane value. And maybe it's more of a comfort pick for Spiro than something like the Mei, right? Now, here's the downside is you had your surprise factor last fight. You came in out of nowhere and you got the kills before the side of Powerhouse could recognize it. Now they know there's a Doomfist on the other side. They can save the freeze stun for it. They could try to freeze you up. There's so many different ways to shut down a Doomfist in this comp. So now we're going to have to see Spiro play and get value.
Yeah, attempt at that shatter in the back. Doesn't quite do the work it wants. Spiro drops very early on, and then there's a follow-up as well. Really good start to this fight. And then the Diva Bomb from Runner finds 2 kills to help close out this situation. That's going to be a first point cap for Powerhouse.
Yes, indeed, and that's another downside to like the Doomfist versus Mei argument, right? Without a Mei, there's no slowing down this Rush composition. As we're seeing the stagger picks kind of come through, Jaybird getting an unlucky bad spawn as the rest of his team spawns back. But, it's A-okay. You're just going to have to give up a little bit of high ground here. The cart hasn't moved too far. You can regroup. You're going to have Glacial with the Deadeye. Jaybird has gotten some pretty fat shatters in the series thus far. Hopefully can continue that trend and retake the high ground with it.
They're going to start with the High Noon, try to take some space. Paywall's in their way. Shatter does not hit what it quite wants. Good damage coming through. The pin actually does take out Glacial there. Kind of a weird pin in all honesty from Speed. And Axolotl Syndicate are currently working with a one-man advantage here. But Speed is looking for blood. And the only blood that's going to be spilt is his own. So Axolotl doing a good job at holding on.
Yes, indeed, and they played that fight extremely smart, not overcommitting too many ultimates. Sure, you had to commit the Deadeye, the Shatter, and the Meteor Strike in the end, but you're still going to have your window as well as your Diva Bomb. The biggest thing as well is maybe if Kurt can get the beat drop in on time to maybe try to help live through the next Blizzard that's coming from Boreal, which is already at 80%, and then this window is kind of just secure space. You don't want to push into a window, there's no point. So it's just a little bit of extra space given.
Yeah, but now Powerhouse gonna start to move up this staircase here. And then Axolotl, we're gonna try to meet them here. High Noon comes out. Oh, the pin! The Noon still does not find quite anything. They're good opening to this fight, though. Diva Bomb is caught in this awkward spot of the corridor where it's not actually visible to anything. And so it's just going to be Powerhouse taking this advantages they have been given and running with it. Azalea finds 2 kills there. And Spork trying to clutch up, but I doubt he'll be able to.
Yes, indeed. It's just going to be getting that one pick and then running with your tail between your legs, as we're seeing second point start to come to a close here. Both teams are going to be back at a full 6. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight kind of breaks down. You have the window, and high ground's already regained. Powerhouse not really seeming to want to fight this one just yet. They want to make sure they're fully regrouped and ready, which is a smart play. Always take the fight on your own terms instead of the enemy's.
For sure. Trying to fight this out there. This falling fight a little bit, able to stay alive. Oh, the shatter from speed is quite nasty, and it results in an opening for the side. But Jaybird's Fire Strike finds a 2K, and so now the advantage is switched over to Powerhouse. I mean Axolotl, excuse me, and they're gonna continue this forward aggression as Jaybird is unrelenting in his presence.
Yes, indeed. And it's interesting that they're able to get this aggressive, right? Because as I was talking about, the Mei normally is what slows down the tempo of these comps, or at least it's what punishes the Reinhardt. And there's no Mei present on the side of Axolotl. Hasn't been for quite a while, and they're still getting the better of these Reinhardt engages. And Boreal on the Mei hasn't really found the value that you'd expect from a Mei. Granted, you're coming up on Blizzard, that's always going to be a nice plus. And Mythology's going to start earning towards speed as they jump over the top.
That's a great Mei wall, actually. Allows them to get over the high ground, but Glacial! Oh my, what is that? It's just the Ryan barrier gets completely shattered, so it just allows Glacial to come up with a 4K. Axolotl with a very clean fight.
Yeah, now it's final fight. I mean, you wall yourself over, but there's no real hiding spots to hide away from that Deadeye now. And like I said, final fight, you do have Blizzard, but the issue is you have to force the fight on point, right? Because you're going to have to find a way to get value out of this Blizzard. Hero's not going to be anywhere near the point. You have to protect your backline in that sense. And Azalea already down.
Yeah, Glacial with the big opening. Now Blizzard into the back, and Sparrow into the back lines, and it finds the kill. Greenback kill as well, just for some style points here. Soundbearer and an attempt to change the tide of this fight, but all that's going to happen is Axolotl's victory. That's going to be the end of the round here. Axolotl know what they need to do to stay alive in the series.
Yes, indeed, and it's completely doable. Rialto's a map you commonly see go to third point or even extra rounds, simply because it's just that kind of map, right? It's hard to get defenders hold, especially on that kind of little bit of a switch up, right? The Doomfist providing the value that the Mei couldn't, simply because it was constant picks, and it was able to match and even out tempo at times the aggression coming out from Powerhouse. So, Spiro, hats off to you. You allowed your team to play more aggressive. And now we're going to see, do you continue to run that Doomfist on the offense, or do you try to go back to the Mei and find value that way? It's going to be the question of the day.
For sure. Now
We are just waiting for these teams to show themselves out of spawn. We're seeing the standard rush. Nothing too crazy from Powerhouse, as I think this is the only composition they've run. They really haven't deviated in any way, shape, or form. Probably because they haven't felt the need to. And I would be interested to see if Axolotl Syndicate wants to run out on this, simply because, there's so much poke in this comp, but you're leaving Spork on either Baptiste or Zen, really, just to be run over in this comp.
Yeah, for sure. Now we are getting in. Interesting comp on the attack. I wonder if they'll stick to it. No, just playing with my hearts. Switch over to a more traditional composition. Brawl comp.
It's indeed back over to the standard rush. And you're seeing Spiro on that Mei now, so the question is, what is the game plan? Are you just going to push cart and then take high ground later, or are you going to wait for the side of Powerhouse to drop? There's truly a few different avenues you can take with this, depending on what you want to do. As we're seeing Powerhouse kind of back up, it looks like they want to take the fight down here, as Diva's already dropping. She's got to be the one to touch point, stop it from going around that corner.
Yeah, they're trying to make something happen here, and they're kind of just running into a brick wall as Runner runs into them. Yes, you can say to take down Glacial. Jaybird with the trade kill there, with the pin onto speed. But the icicles from Spiro are just too much for Boreal to handle. As a bit of a 1v1 happening on this Mega. So Spiro lost it.
The 1v1 is lost, but you know, you don't really need to 1v1 when you have your team to back you up. And this offense so far has breathed new life into Axolotl Syndicate. They should be able to get this first point capped here.
Yeah, they're going to try to go aggressive onto the cart here. And Runner goes off the edge there due to that pin from Jaybird. It's actually massive. Glacial finds an opening pick. Azalea is trying to change the tide of this fight, however, with the help of the Sand Magic, she's just not able to do so.
I mean, that's it right there. We have 5 minutes going into point B, and you just got to get to the very tail end of point B, you know, that yellow box of victory. It's not even actually all the way at the end. It's just right by the staircase. So Axolotl going from sort of just a team difference across the board to a very winnable Rialto to put them back in this series.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great Maywall there onto speed, however. Are they able to collapse onto him? No, they are not. Oh, that's a great shatter, though. Not able to eat the Blizzard is toasty, so it gets some decent value here, and Runner comes up with a big 2K. It looks like they're going to be able to run with that and find the rest of the players remaining.
Yes, indeed, and it's finally going to be the first real defensive fight victory for the side of Powerhouse. Now, here's the problem, is you still have 4 minutes on that time bank, but you do have some ults to start rotating to try to hold this, right? You have your Deadeye that you can use whenever just to create more space. Mythology has been using these beats pretty aggressively, so I would like to see this one saved defensively to try to help live through Spiro's May ult, or potentially something like a Shatter if it comes online, but the Deadeye's already out.
Yeah, I knew try to create some form of value, it's just not able to do so. Now the high noon from Glacial. The Jaybird dropped kind of early on into this fight. Now this Diva Bomb over the top gets on the staircase. And Runner actually gets killed while still in the baby Diva form. Sound Barrier, as Toasty actually looked for a remat kill, I believe, but Sound Barrier to try to create some form of an opportunity. But the only opportunity they have is... I don't know if they have any opportunities. The Animatrix fades now. So that's when Axolotl wants to push back into this. Animatrix of their own. Force Thumbs back. Fire Strike comes through. Mythology falls. Azalea soon to follow. The Shatter is good, but they're just unable to follow up onto it due to the fact that they're facing so much pressure from the side of the Axolotl players. And so now there's very few players being able to maintain themselves on this cart. That's going to be the full cap. Well, not the full cap, but it's going to be map 3 going the way of Axolotl as they stay alive.
Yes, indeed, and not only did they stay alive, I'd say they looked pretty dominant. Granted, both teams kind of gave up point A pretty freely, but the defense was absolutely massive, and I think Glacial was just such a big part of that, right? Not only with the Deadeye, but just the raw damage output with the Kree, right? Always hitting those consistent headshots, just dealing insane amounts of damage time and again. And as well as you're seeing, like, it's just the pocketing that also you're giving that Kree, right? The amount of respect that you have to hand over to it if you're Powerhouse. So now Powerhouse, while they are up 2 maps, they have to find themselves now as the one to adjust, as Axolotl seems to have finally found their footing in this rush mirror.
Yeah, for sure. As it will be now the pick for the first time of Powerhouse. We move over to 2CP now. And just a question for you, Megaless. What map do you think you go with here? I believe the options are Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya
Industries.
Yeah.
I mean,
so out of those 3, what do you think Powerhouse would really be looking at?
Well, see, normally I like to think that map pick matters quite a lot, but the issue with this series is that both teams have kind of been forcing this rush mirror, so regardless of where you go, you're gonna see rush. Now, if Powerhouse happens to have a Winston composition up their sleeve, this would be the time to pull it out, and to pull it out on Temple of Anubis, which, ironically enough, is the map pick. So, maybe we'll see a little bit of Winston here. The double bubble does work pretty effectively. But at the same time, Spiro's Doomfist was the bane of their existence on their defense, and Temple of Anubis, not really much first point, but second point Doomfist's kind of playground. There's so much cool tech he can use to kind of get to high grounds, be annoying, be always in a position you'll never expect him to be, and just dealing damage as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be Temple of Anubis is the selection here of Powerhouse, I believe. Interesting
Hmm.
pick. You can play a bit of double shield if you want on the defense, but from what they've been doing, I wouldn't be surprised if we just see the continuation of them running the brawl. Interesting side note. This is a map where you're able to see a bit more of the like Ash and the Hanzo variations of the brawl comp with a bit of the Sigma. So Axolotl tried to run that on our opening map, so they may attempt once again to pull that out here.
I mean, absolutely, because at the end of the day, we don't know what these teams have prepped, right? Maybe they're just scrimming rush, or maybe they're just scrimming, map specific strategies. Those are both valid strats that these teams could be preparing and having at the ready. And honestly, I'm gonna be looking. While it was Powerhouse and map pick, I want to look at what Axolotl's gonna do. Right? Maybe they continue to lean into that Doomfist. Maybe they pull out some long range hit scan of their own, as you were talking about with the Ash, potentially Jaybird on the Winston. We haven't really seen too much variation going on between these teams, but maybe there's a pocket strategy, especially with something like 2CP. It's always nice to have some sort of idea to catch your opponent off guard, just because of how different the game mode is.
Yeah,
As
I
we
think that's
are, yeah.
entirely fair. I think we are mostly ready. Actually, we're not. I made that up.
Mhm.
We are waiting on the readies from Powerhouse, and then once they are prepared, we can hop in.
I mean,
But yeah, I am
absolutely.
very excited to see what everybody is able to pull out here.
I mean, yeah, and maybe take this little bit of downtime that you can technically have to discuss if you're Powerhouse. Like, we dominated the first two maps, we kind of got rolled on that third map being Rialto. Figure out what went wrong. Maybe it was just a little bit of overconfidence. You were overstepping, going for maybe some ego plays and stuff like that. You kind of had to maybe hone in the energy and just bring it all back together. But if you're Axolotl, start riding this momentum. You can start getting in their heads super super well, and it's just kind of interesting to see how these teams can go back and forth. Lots of people are expecting the Powerhouse 3-0, but Axolotl proving that they can put up fights where they choose, as we
Yeah, for
are just
sure.
kind of in this internal wait for this map to start.
Yeah,
um,
the eternal wait.
the eternal wait. And I mean, yeah, it really is going to be interesting to see what these teams kind of opt with, not just in terms of strategy, but just, you know, maybe just taking a little time, breathing, enjoying the air around you, and all that fun stuff. Just kind of take it in.
Yeah, take it in preparing to be able to hop in. But yeah, this is a very excited for the remainder of this map though. Match, however, I I liked a lot of what I saw from Axolotl on that previous map, and so if they can continue with some of that momentum into this map, I would be feeling a bit better about them throughout the rest of the series. I don't think Powerhouse really played that battle in the last map. It just felt like Axolotl played quite good.
I mean, the question is, like, how did they play that good, right? Was it just the Doomfist and really just the pressure that exerted, or was there something else beyond it? Just sort of the mental pressure of once you kind of get held on point B like that, you start thinking differently. And, you never really know with teams, right? You don't know what they prepped, you don't know what they're thinking, what they're calming, or anything like that. And it's always interesting to think about all all of the different options that these teams have in terms of not only their preparation but just what they choose to do. You could prep into these meta comps, or you can just switch it up on a dime and start running, something like a team like Avoided and Contenders would run, where you're running like Roadhog Torbjorn 24/7.
Yeah, for sure. That's a possibility. So, yeah, they are finally ready, I believe, and there it is. So we will be hopping in. Quite excited.
Now Entering the temple.
Heading on to Temple of Anubis.
Initiating match.
Yes, indeed, and it's all going to be about what these teams decide to run. As we said before, the defenders are locked in a little bit earlier than the attackers because they have to get the point to start defending it. And, there's different ways to defend it, right? You could hold on this early middle ground right here. You could take a little bit further approach back on these back two high grounds. Or you can just hold the point itself on some kind of weird variation type stuff. But the defense, it's looking like we're sticking with the standard rush, so no variance or anything like that. And currently in the attacker spawn as well, we're seeing standard rush with Mythology on the Brig, but that'll probably be swapped to a Lucio any moment now. You still got 20 seconds to just walk around in your spawn if you're an attacker. So I do get, maybe if you've seen Lucio 100 times this day, you just want to look at Brig for half of a second, look at the shield. I kind of get that vibe,
Yeah, as we are hopping in. We're all for both sides, so it's actually just going to be a mirror. I was hoping maybe we'd see something a bit different on this map, but just going to be the truth.
Yes, indeed. As we're seeing a fight taken extremely early because of the Maywalls.
Yeah, it's a great engage, and Jaybird just drops Glacial with the right click. Can just farm them alive. 2 kills though, because maybe a bit of overextension actually from Axolotl. They do manage to trade out into speed, however.
Yes, indeed, and now we're seeing just kind of this poke fest. But they're choosing to engage despite being down their Rhine.
Yeah, Renher will be returning now. You might come to X-Runner, who's kind of in an awkward position. High Noon. Coming out from Zayla. Oh, the Maywall is not best. High Noon has been faded away now. Trying to head on to the point there. Oh, the Shatter actually doesn't hit anybody. Quite sad. As Glacial through the Ant Matrix, picking up one, looking for another one as well. And this is looking quite good there. There's only a couple players remaining. If they can finish off the Baptiste, and they're able to do so, it's going to be Axolotl holding on.
I mean, yeah, and they did it really well. Both Reinhardt's having to come back into the fight. Luckily, Jaybird was able to get back a little bit quicker and start with that sort of D-mech onto X-Runner on the Diva. But you got to look forward to the future, right? You're going to have the beat drop, and you can start doing what Mythology's been doing all series. Use it aggressively. As we're seeing the Deadeye, not really seeing the value.
Yeah, it nearly picked off Mythology, but the Mortality Field was enough to keep him up. Now, the sound barrier from Mythology is used to try to keep the remaining players alive. The Blizzard, though, and the Diva Bomb on top of it. Now, lacking in numbers is Powerhouse, and so Axolotl are doing a decent job. A bit of a back cap attempt from Boreal, but that won't last.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, it makes a very loud noise, and when the fight's over like that, you can kind of sort of hear it, so being able to recoup, get back onto the point, and Axolotl, they've really seemed to flip a switch here. Looking a lot weaker in the Rush Mirror the first 2 maps. I've even suggesting them to switch off of it, and now they're just dominating. They're rotating these ults so well, and just giving themselves all the right advantages, knowing where to take fights. It's a really drastic improvement, and I'm very impressed.
High Noons for both sides. Ant Matrix is for 1. High Noons combined find a total of 0 kills. Shatter drops 1 on the ground though, and as Sparrow barely able to stay alive there. Flashbang, the great defense matrix though from Runner to keep some of his team alive in a situation where they could have dropped much sooner. And a great shot from Glacial, absolutely popping heads to keep them into this. 50 seconds left on the clock now for Powerhouse to try to make anything happen.
I mean, Powerhouse, they're starting to crumble here, and you can sort of see it. But you kind of have to recenter that mental, right? You have to realize what your win conditions are. You have about 30 seconds left on the clock. X-Runner gonna have to reset the ult charge just to make sure they get back with a mech in time. And pretty much you should be playing for Blizzard right now. That's the only ult you're close to. And you keep trying this rotation, you keep getting walled.
And just doesn't work out for them in any of these attempts. And now they're able to just get a couple of late kills as well. Only 15 seconds left. They're going aggressive, keeping anybody from even getting close to touch this point. A high noon attempt. Everybody's dropping. Glacial with the high noon to zone everybody out. Touch onto point. I mean, if you want to look for a bit of a silver lining, 85.8% built up for the side of Powerhouse, so it is technically it is a winnable map.
I mean,
it's just going to be quite challenging.
It's technically winnable, but it's very interesting that the side of Powerhouse, they chose to continue to try to rotate into that right room for 4 minutes, and every single time, except albeit just one, they just got walled. Jaybird came down on the Reinhardt and just killed 3, like every single time. It was sort of like watching a washing machine, just rinse and repeat over and over again. And at some point you have to learn, hey, this isn't working. And even if you're not going to switch up your comp, you kind of have to switch up your rotation. But now you've left yourself in a position where you will not see second point on this map. It's either you full hold this first point, or it ends here and you're going to tie up the series 2-2. And no offense, with how scary Axolotl's looking, I don't want to go do another Koth round. I am actually terrified if I'm Powerhouse. As we are just seeing, the standard rush once again on the defense. I would be interested to see if this is the double bubble that actually comes out on the offense.
I don't hate it.
I do enjoy it. It's just a question of will they actually stick it versus just switching at the last second. But, 10 seconds, they're starting to walk towards the doors. I do believe this might be a genuine double bubble. Yeah, switch over to the Mercy. Nice to see.
Yeah, I really like this comp. You can charge Nano Boost fairly quickly, especially because you just need one fight win. You can chill out, kind of take some soft dives, take some map control, build up Nano Boost, and then go for a quick engage. Glacial taking control of this Mega on the top right. Gonna look for an engage onto the back line there. And just putting some point pressure on, a lot of damage coming through onto the Baptiste. And then Monkey starts to head on in, gets stunned up for a second, but that won't last for long. Anti-nade is okay, but just no able to get any follow-up damage. But then you can see Jaybird keeps going for these soft dives, builds up some of his ult, and tries to maybe get a pick off the back of this here. Resurrect comes through onto Spiro, who got picked off, but while that was happening, they were lacking a bit of utility to try to keep Jaybird alive. Bit of a communication breakdown, it appeared. This could be Powerhouse holding off.
Yes, indeed, and sort of just working to build that nano boost, right? You're trying to build primal and nano at the same time. That's why you see those soft dives coming over and over again. And Spork being able to find that one good anti in there, unfortunately, just wasn't really the game plan to go in on that anti, right? So you're just looking to win with your ultimates, and you're nano monkeying in. That's your fight winner right there.
Nano monkey, like you said, the high noon from Azalea, though. It's quite good. You also have the sound barrier from Mythology, so now all of a sudden you're in a situation where this is winnable. Azalea does end up dropping to Jaybird, who goes quite aggressive in the backline. Nano duplicate, from Sparrow onto the Reinhardt, and is finding the kills they need. Axolotl Syndicate are looking good to put themselves in a situation where they can win this reverse sweep, but they're not done yet. Baptiste uncontested on the high ground, doing a lot of work. Diva Bomb thrown onto the point, can zone them out, and buy a bit of time. Remec is able to come through as well, but the Baptiste does end up dropping. So I don't think Powerhouse will be able to hold this, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, as we're seeing this kind of just stagger fight continue on here, and it looks like the picks are finally going in the way. Glacial just coming up so massively in this team fight. And that's going to be the second pick given.
How many kills off of that? Oh no, he goes down to the stickies. Right before the shatter dropped, the stickies connected onto him, so he just wasn't able to get any kills with that shatter. It's the Axolotl Syndicate taking a pretty dominant Temple of Anubis, and now we're one map away from reverse sweeping.
I mean, I don't know what happened at the halftime there after map 2, but something has just turned Axolotl alive. Just full credit to them being able to keep this tempo up so crazy. And, it's just kind of nuts thinking about where this series started, how people weren't thinking they would be too aggressive. And going into map 5, all of a sudden the 3-0 Powerhouse is dead, and Axolotl looks poised to win it in a reverse sweep. They
look like they definitely can. I would not put it past them. So the Powerhouse need to figure something out because what they're doing right now is not looking too good.
And it's interesting, right? Because we look back to the first two maps in this series, both Nepal and Eigenwald. I mean, Powerhouse was rolling. Like, there was just no sort of end in sight towards their aggression. And it has to be an adjustment from Axolotl. Maybe it's something you don't see with the naked eye. Perhaps it's just kind of like the extra defensive play from like a McCree or something like that. And also Axolotl, for the first time this series, showing us variation, right? Because we saw the double bubble coming out there. It's just so interesting to see, and it's going to be Powerhouse's map pick as well for our final Koth map, which will decide it all. And I have an odd feeling they're going to want to choose Lijiang Tower because it's such a polarizing map, and you can kind of sort of force your super aggressive rush and bring it all down to mechanics there.
Yeah, I don't think that's. Yeah, I think that's fairly true. Jason's gonna be subbed back in on the flex support. Love to see it. He's kind of cracked, not gonna lie. The kid is cracked. Lijiang Tower is gonna be the map selection. Uh, one of the more popular Koth maps, so not against it. And I'm excited to see what Powerhouse have planned here for this final map.
Yes, indeed. It'll be interesting to see if maybe Jason is the answer that was in those first few maps. But at the end of the day, it's not really just a one player type of situation, right? It's kind of a team playing together and playing properly. And Powerhouse is just, they've started to crumble, but, they're still a good team. They still have good players. I fully believe in a comeback here if possible. But I mean, either way, for what most people predicted to be a stomp, this game's going close, and it's showing that there's going to be a pretty decent rivalry between these two up here in the, I believe this is the advanced division or something to that effect.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a wild world out here in the advanced division, but we are just waiting on the readies from all parties, and then once they have arrived, we can get ourselves underway. But yeah, I am very excited. No matter what happens, I am excited and glad for this series. The maps were a bit one-sided, all things considered, but it's some fun Overwatch to watch at the end of the day.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Map 5 bangers, regardless of any sort of, ELO rank map. Like, it's always fun to see a series go to map 5 simply because it means these teams are good and they're evenly matched. It's sort of like a good wrestling match, right? Where the opponents are equally leveled. So, regardless of who ends up winning the fight, they're just going to be, that much more powerful in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. As we're still waiting for everybody to be ready. They like to take a long time. These advanced teams, I tell you.
Yes, a little bit of behind the scenes. This is the second bathroom break for Axolotl. We've had several different people going to use the restroom, and it's just kind of, it's like you're playing Overwatch. You got a game right here. You got to make sure
you got a game.
You got a game
Most
right here. You got to
important.
keep that undefeated season alive, and you're over here just on the toilet. It's always unlucky.
Unlucky. Yeah. So now we are. I believe we actually have some of the readies. Yeah, we have some of them.
Some of them.
Some of them. But yeah. So this map you could see a lot of comps. I expect that we will see some Symmetra played. I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw some 6-man as well. With that either Sombra Reaper, Sombra Echo most likely as well. So.
I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because Axolotl, they've started to show variants. Even from back in the first map, they had like that SIG kind of variant that they were playing on Nepal. But Powerhouse, it's just been this standard rush comp: Ryan Diva, McCree May, Lucio Baptiste. So, I mean, maybe this is the time you finally switch it up. Maybe this is the time you decide to stop sandbagging. But it's either now or never, really, right? Because you don't want to lose the series. You don't want to put yourself at 1-1. because there's only 4 teams in this division. You always want to be fighting to be the number 1 dog, because otherwise, then what's the point, right?
Yeah, of course, you always want to try to be at the very top. And at the very top, these teams very well could end up, like we mentioned at the start. This is, of course, only week 2, but these 2 teams both won last week with a 3-1 game, so they are technically tied at the very top there, but it doesn't mean a whole lot, like I said, when you only have one map of 1 week of games played, so. I think we're finally ready, though. We have the ready from both sides.
Hopefully.
And then there it is, finally. Getting in. I'm quite excited.
Now
Getting in, and I think it's also going to be important which round of Lijiang we start off on here. We actually are getting the garden first. Now, some teams like to use the sim. They TP into the window super early just to get to point quickly. Some teams, they'll opt into the Pharah, just kind of spam from outside, spam from on high, do as you please. This is a map I would be very surprised to see the Standard Rush on, simply because I think it's one of the few maps in the game that the Standard Rush lacks that value on. And currently both teams showing the Reinhardt, and we're still seeing the Standard Rush. It seems like Powerhouse has become a one-trick team almost, not really gaining any value out of any other comps and scrims maybe, or maybe it's just this is what they feel safe in practicing. Who really knows at the end of the day? But if you're going to make this your one-trick comp, you got to look a little bit more dominant. You got to go back to what you were doing on those first 2 maps and not these last 2. Both teams are running out, and Glacial will probably get the team there first.
Yeah, they will make it to the point to start off. And they are going to look for an early engage here. One side's running the Symmetra and the other is not. And normally when you're able to get earlier control of the point, you are set up better in these fights. But in this case, it's going to be Jason who finds the opening pick, the world-renowned cheater, and the rest of the team is going to push on through and capitalize on the space created.
I mean, that's already the Jason diff that you're seeing right out of the gate. Getting picks on Baptiste, it's one of the most powerful things about him, right? While he is a support character by definition, he has that damage with that lovely gun he has, and then also you're building up window extremely quickly, and you're still on this Symmetra Doomfist for the side of Axolotl, so it's going to be interesting to see what value it can get into this rush.
Yeah, they need the TP to start the... it's a really nice icicle on the Spork, however, through the Ant-Matrix. Boreal fights too. Oh, the Shatter from speed. Quite nasty with it. Does the value it needs. He does go down, but who really cares?
Who cares? You found exactly what you needed. And now going forward into this next fight, you have to realize what your game plan is. They're expecting these TPs and planning around them, right? So Axolotl, you can't just TP freely. You have to have an idea of what you're doing with them. Maybe fake a TP somewhere. Or potentially, you have a window of your own. You can initiate a fight early like that.
High Noon comes out, actually gets eaten up there, and it doesn't really create really much anything there. That's a great fight. I mean, it was an attempt at a very quick engage, but the Blizzard was just too much pressure onto the side of Axolotl.
And also, somewhere in that fight, Jaybird dropped a Shatter, so you all of a sudden have just completely lost that ultimate that could provide you that win. You're going to have Simwall now that's going to be able to mitigate a lot of the damage that this Rush comp wants to put out. The question is, will it be enough?
Broke the Shatter with the symbol! He put up the symbol as soon as the Shatter came out, so I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he just blocked the Shatter with the symbol. Quite a play turn up from Glacial. Even fight though. And it's a good Maywall into Jaybird, and he drops. Trade comes through, however, onto Boreal. So this is not unwinnable here for Axolotl. Spiro in the back trying to make something happen. He's doing so successfully. He has found 2 kills so far. Make that a 3rd. And Spiro comes up big, and Axolotl will be able to capture this objective.
Yes, indeed. In the 12th hour, Spiro comes up big for the team exactly when needed, and now we're just going to see Glacial go over to the Kree as the Sim's no longer really needed now that you have point control, which does make quite a bit of sense to me, but now you have a full 90% for the side of Powerhouse. All you got to do is flip it back once. You got to win one good team fight.
Now, one good fight is all they need. And a High Noon is really good from Azalea to start this off. Looking for some follow-up, and they're getting it. And now this is looking like Powerhouse will be able to recapture some of this early energy, but I say that there are trades coming through, and they have some healers alive still, so the respawns though are there, so I don't feel as confident as they did earlier in this fight.
Yeah, and it's just this stagger fight that's still going back and forth, ults being committed, and oh, the shatter.
Killed mid, Mythology got killed mid B, and Jaybird fights through it, but Azalea fights too. It's just out of nowhere. There's only 3 players alive for Powerhouse, and they will manage to get the flip. Stall should be there, as the Wrecking Ball for my Toasty Toast will come in from behind. Spiro can't get the tag gets taken out by Azalea. The stall is available, however. Great kills from Azalea onto 2 players. Monkey trying to stall for as long as possible. Tracer has arrived onto the point. But on Gardens, they are running out of water. Running out of steam. I meant to say running out of steam. And I was going to say something about water, but I just didn't. Now I feel kind of like stupid, you know? But, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, water vapor is steam, you know? Maybe you're a little bit, you know, sweaty because of all of the water you're leaking after an intense round like that. Simply because of how, you know, back and forth it was, right? When it came to the set plans and the set plays, it seemed like the edge would 100% go to Powerhouse, but in, like, the scrappy engagements, it just seemed to always come up. There was always these picks coming through. Azalea on this Doomfist, as well as the McCree, just always finding picks, always finding value. And you're going to try to find it here now against the Junkrat on Control Center. Junkrat becoming a very popular pick on this map simply because of the spam. Doomfist still can get value, but it's only if the Doomfist gets an early kill here.
Yeah, they need a great opening if they want to try to make something happen here. Doomfist into the back line. Everybody's falling quite low. T-Bird is going to drop. Great opening into this fight. They're going to look to follow up, and Boreal will do so successfully.
Absolutely, that's what you need. The space was created by your Doomfist and your Reinhardt together, working as one. And now that you have that space, you get the free point cap. And all of a sudden, the Junkrat, which was such a valuable pick, almost becomes obsolete and needed to switch because you don't get as many free angles to spam from. You no longer have the option to point control, so you can't set your traps aggressively. You lose a lot of the value from that character, but you're going to stick on it anyway in hopes you can flip it quick.
See what they're able to do. And Matrix comes out. Oh, great fire strike. Jaybird absolutely snipes Mythology out of there, and Toasty Toast follows up. And they will run this over there. Really nicely done there by Axolotl to re-engage into this.
Yes, indeed. The cleanup's finally coming through. Toasty Toast is going to be D-Max, so maybe that's an advantage that Powerhouse can seek to use to their advantage. Spiro on the Junkrat finally having the tire now, and with the aggressive positioning that you now get, you know, potentially finding a sneaky flank tire. There's so many little nooks and crannies you can hide in on Li Zhang because there's almost a whole part of the map that never gets used. And we're just seeing just a casual poke out, some space being taken by Powerhouse as the tire starts this fight.
Yeah, ooh, great tire there from Spiro. Does manage to fight 1. Oh, Spiro fights 3. Absolutely popping off there. Trying to make this fight a reality. Glacial picks 1 up as well. So Axolotl off the back of some big DPS play managed to make this work.
Yes, indeed. And now's kind of sort of where you start worrying about this Doomfist pick on the other side, right? If it's not getting the exact value that you want in terms of punching somebody and guaranteeing a kill, or at least displacing the Rhine, do you stick on it? Displacing the Rhine could be big as we're TPing in. Both Rhines looking for the shatter this fight.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting shatter going on there. I think Speed was just like, he popped shatter, but I don't think it ever actually landed. I'm not really sure what happened there. Jaybird, though, does find a big shatter, which allows Toasty Toast's bomb to pick up a double kill. And now just the Diva bomb. Oh, it actually does catch out Spiro, but there's not really anybody still remaining for that side.
And all of a sudden, because of these scrappy fights that extend long and continue, we're in final fight territory. We're having to touch the point. Speed's already here, but there's just nothing that Powerhouse has in the bank. And meanwhile, this tire in the window are going to be destructive.
Yeah, that's a great opening there. Takes one down, and they're looking for some follow-up. They're not able to do so, however. And so now it's the Doomfist from Azalea that actually comes up with 2 great kills. And so Powerhouse are looking like they're in a situation where we may be able to turn this point back over. Due to the Sim Teleporter, however, you can see Axolotl returning the fight a bit quicker than they normally would be able to. Now with 4 players, they're going aggressive with the sound barrier. Through the Matrix, they manage to find one. Azalea on the backline with the Doomfist, trying to stay alive, but I don't know how long he's going to be able to do so. D-Mech comes through onto Runner, and this is actually going to be a great hold here. Axolotl Syndicate will be sending us to a 3rd point here on Li Zhang.
I mean, that round was just kind of... Both rounds so far, while there's been point percentage for the person who does not win it, they've looked dominant, really, on both rounds. One going for Powerhouse, one going for Axolotl Syndicate. So it's all going to come down to the night market. This is kind of the guaranteed sim map on Li Zhang. It's all about teleporting into that window, getting your team in there first. And honestly, I would not be surprised to see Spearow stick on the Junkrat, as it is kind of a strategy to just put in a bunch of damage where that teleporter lands. But the issue is you need to make sure that you are getting the damage into the teleporter, which means you have to be there first. There is no second here for Spearow. You have to be there first, or Azalea on the Doomfist is going to find a punch out of that teleporter, and it's just going to be lethal. Lights out.
Yeah, as a very aggressive play there onto the objective. Doomfists are trading punches, and it's going to be going out the way of... I just forgot the name. The way of Powerhouse very early on there into this engage. Really nice opening fight there.
And now you're at such a disadvantage. First point control on this map normally determines it. That's what's terrifying, but you can't ever give up in any situation, especially one where you're this close to winning if you're Axolotl. So you have to look for your way in, right? You're sticking on the Symmetra, you're looking for a TP. I wouldn't TP through the window. I would maybe try to TP into their backline, get a cheeky little pin with Jaybird. Maybe that's the kind of entrance you're looking for, because there's no ultimates on the other side that you have to worry about just yet.
Yeah, punch comes through from Spearow, facing a lot of pressure due to the Symmetra turret, so can do quite a lot of damage to him. Punch it to the backline, barely misses onto the Baptiste, but Boreal with a great opening pick there. They attempt to turn this fight, though, from Axolotl Syndicates. The Matrix comes through, but they're similar to cut off any damage and healing that would be affected by it, so Jason with the 2K at the end will allow Powerhouse to keep control of the objective.
And Boreal Simwall right there just saved the point. As you said, it just cut off the window. No healing, no damage coming through that, as well as just, you know, in terms of just cutting off, saving your team from any damage, right? So when you're TP'd into the backline there, you lose all value. Now we're seeing Glacial go over to the Kree. The Sim is out of play, but the question is, what value is the Kree going to get? You're shooting into a Rhine-Chill a lot, and it looks like a bomb engage, actually, for Toes.
Actually pretty nice there. Oh, Great Shatter there from Speed. Does quite a lot of damage there. And it's not... the Shatter, while it was good, it's not really the reason they're winning this fight. The rest of the team is just... has a lot of very nice picks that are able to come through here. Last fight territory, though.
Last fight territory, and it seems like all of the cards are in favor of Powerhouse right now. They have the Sim TP. They're gonna have the bomb. The only thing they have to worry about is this B, potentially this Doomfist ult from Spearow, depending on the value it gets.
That's actually massive. Spearow actually counterpunched Azalea there, which meant that they were just able to get the opening pick for free. And so with that, they are able to engage with the Sound Bearer, come onto the objective, and use the Shatter to help close out that fight. Very nicely done there by Axolotl.
I mean, just when I thought it was all over for Axolotl, Jaybird coming up massive with that Shatter, as well as that entrance pick, as you said. Now, all of a sudden, you have to look at turning this all the way around yourself, and you have the ults to rotate it. You're using the window aggressively now just to make space. Oh, but the teleport back into point.
Yeah, they do teleport onto the point. High New coming out. Looking for something. Doomfist into the back. There's quite a lot of damage. The Flashbang Family Hammer to Azalea, but there's 2 picks that will go their way early. Oh, Speed actually got pinned out of his Shatter there. It doesn't really matter at the end, however, as this is looking like Powerhouse, barring a miracle, will be taking the series 3-2 to 2 here. There was a bit of a scare for a moment, but those two maps be damned. Powerhouse come back in with a vengeance.
They do, but it was not necessarily the cleanest fending off in the end. You know, you got pretty much rolled on those 2 maps that you lost, and then Li Zhang was down to the wire here. You went all 3 rounds, both teams going back and forth, and I mean, when Jaybird's doing stuff like that on the Reinhardt, you gotta find a way to shut it down, but it seems like they had the answer in the end, and the answer seemed to be Doomfist, interestingly enough. Azalea on the Doomfist, as well as the Kree, this entire series just providing insane value. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about the amount of damage and stuff that was put out.
Yeah, for sure. As now, I have one question for you. Who do you think kind of deserves this kind of makeshift player of the match?
Makeshift play. I mean, you could give it to pretty much anyone on Powerhouse. You know, maybe somebody like Jason who was able to kind of come in and out for the series. You know, from what I remember, winning every single map that they were in, as well as, you know, like I said before, with Azalea on the DPS, just truly lights out, making a difference anytime the team needed it. But those would be like my 2 main picks right there.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're gonna give in an interview real quick to X Runner. It appears that he really wants it, and apparently the team wants him to get it. So yeah, we will get X Runner in here to get a quick interview. But yeah, everybody on Powerhouse, like you mentioned, played a great game. I mean, Myth on the Lucio as well had a lot of big plays. Jason's just a freak of nature. DPS line as well, just constantly doing work. And then X Runner, who has just joined us, duoed with Speed, did quite a lot of work there. It's the real X Runner. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, obviously phenomenal series from you guys. I guess kind of the first question while we're getting your camera set up and everything like that is just, you kind of forced this rush the entire time with little to no variation until the very end with the Doomfist. Was that kind of just what you guys have scrimmed this week, or you just feel more confident on the rush?
Yeah, so coming into it, we thought that Axolotl was just gonna force like some Orisa Torb variation. So we wanted to like really practice our rush to be able to counter that. But then they tried to mirror us on the rush, which kind of caught us off guard in the the maps that we lost. But yeah, we definitely expected to just run the rush, no variation. Rush team.
I mean, hey, you know, it does work in the end. It's a very good composition like that because of the amount of damage it can put out. I guess the next thing is just, you know, when you have somebody like Speed as your Reinhardt, who's super aggressive, always in there. I mean, the amount of peel you had to do on Diva was pretty insane, was it not?
Well, yeah, of course, but we practice for that, right? Like that's our game plan, to be explosive, so we speak and pop off.
So the plan is just kind of enable Speed as hard as possible, and just if everybody else dies with Speed kill 6, it's a-okay.
Well, of course, we don't want to die, but if we let Speed, we give him space and we carry him, then we'll pop off and everybody else will just live.
Make Speed not look like a feeder.
Exactly. That's the whole goal.
Yeah, it was a question kind of relating to the brawl that we saw a lot. So, like you said, you expect them to run a bit of the Orisa Torb comps, which is traditionally been to counter these dives. But here, like you and Megalas mentioned, there was a lot of Rush being played. Do you think Rush is kind of the better comp out of the ones that we've been seeing recently, or do you think there's some space for maybe some more dive or even double shield?
I definitely think that Rush isn't like the prominent meta, right? I mean, you see it in Overwatch League, but this is, it's different down here. But I think if you're able to refine like a double shield comp or a double bubble comp, it will win out against Rush. But especially if actually Axolotl and Powerhouse both played it really well. If you refine the comp, you can kind of just brawl any different sort of style.
Very
for sure.
Good. I mean, yeah, just kind of nuts what you can do with the rush and stuff like that. And I mean, I currently don't have any further questions, so I'll just throw it back over to you, Joe, just for anything you have to say.
I just do you have anybody you want to shout out? Any trash talk? Is there anybody you really hate?
Nah, I don't hate
Okay.
anybody. I want to shout out our coaches, Clay Machine. He gave us a speech on map 5, so I think we won because of that. And also I want to shout out just Axolotl. They played really well today. I was pretty impressed.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I think that's it for us. And we can let you go now. Congratulations on the win, and thanks for the quick interview.
All right.
Oh yeah, any Twitter?
You know what? Nah.
No.
It's alright. It's okay.
You don't want to plug your Twitter?
Nah, that's fine. It's fine.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And with that, it's going to be it for us here at League Zero. Once again, I was Joe Razor, joined here by Megalas, and our producer for tonight's match was Pendy. You can see below me and the virtual avatar of Megalas, our Twitters, and you can go follow us there. Make sure to follow League Zero as well. Join the Discord so you know when any future matches are happening. Tomorrow there will be a match as well. I'm not sure whose channel that will be streamed on, but it'll be on the main channel, so it'll be on this channel as well. So yeah, we have one more game happening this, I guess, weekend. It's technically a Monday, but But yeah, that's gonna be it for us here. Any last things you want to say, Megalas?
No, just a great day of Overwatch, and just hopefully everybody enjoyed.
All right, and that's gonna be it for us, and we do hope to see you around.